Hey, what's up guys? Chris Trini here from Kriscoart. Today, I'm really excited because we're talking about a music video, but this music video is pretty unique because it was a one-take music video shot completely on a phone. Today, I want to share that music video with you as well as the full process of making it. But before jumping into the making of and all the details, here is Chlorine by Bianco, a one-take music video shot on the iPhone 11 Pro.
Do you wanna go down with me? Don't think of yourself, I've got all that you need. In the backseat, like you told me, in the raw summer heat. Bring your heartbeat and your ketamine and the smell of chlorine. And the smell of chlorine. And away. You waited for, and when will you see that I'm what you need to need, and the pains of being young, and the pains of being young, and the pains of being young and in love, and the pains of being young. Do you wanna go down on me? I think of myself when I'm playing for keeps. Take side streets with your bare feet in the warm summer heat. Bring your heartbeat and your ketamine and the smell of chlorine. And the smell of chlorine.
So as you can probably guess, this was a ton of work and planning, and honestly to me, it felt like one of those impossible things that actually happened, and I can't wait to show you everything that went into it. But for now, I want to share a little bit of the early stages, some of the limitations that I knew I had, some of the basic ideas and sort of the constraints that I knew I had to work with. So a lot could go wrong, and that's why having a solid plan in place was crucial. So let's take a look at that. When tackling a large area with lighting, distributing power for it, and planning your shots, I find it helpful to divide your scene into different areas, especially in a one take where the camera moves through the scene and is looking at different parts of it. In order to get the right look, we needed to shoot right at blue hour, so soon as the sun goes down, but just before darkness, giving us a very small window of time, with no access to power and shot on a phone. So before even getting to location, I actually used the Google Street View function in Maps just to kind of get an idea of more of the physical space there. And that was pretty much the only thing that I could go off of, and everything else was just guesswork from reference images. And one plus that we did have was that we were able to get together with the dancers and actually see the choreography, practice it out in a parking lot. And what we actually ended up doing, because we knew that it was so much guesswork and we didn't really know the actual distances, we mapped out the choreography to have 3 different versions based on scale. So we had a more contained version, then we had a more spread out version, and then an even larger version, depending on how much ground to cover, and just to be as flexible as possible to accommodate some of those obstacles, some of those maybe better setups, depending on where the cars were in relation to each other. So again, all of that space was something that we never saw because it was so far from us. So we had to make sure that we could just take into account as many variables as possible so that we could be as ready as possible once we got to the location. But that was actually just enough to get a reference full take in that parking lot and map it out to the location by the second. And I say by the second because everything had to be perfectly in sync together, both the choreography to the camera movement to the distances and speed and flow of that. And with only one chance to get everything right, the planning, the song and the story, and the rehearsals and the camera angles all had to sync up. So with all that being said, of course, the first thing that I did as soon as I got to location was to make sure that the actual real world space mapped out with the space and all the assumptions that I made just behind a monitor a week prior. And for this, the location owner and the location manager were super helpful, and they just made all this process that much easier. And that brings us to the place itself, the location. Driving here is so surreal. Look at this. What do you mean? What the? How is this a thing? I'm glad it is though. It was just otherworldly yet familiar in a weird way. But now, out in the desert on actual location, all of that could easily fall apart. The first steps were delegating exactly what was needed to the rest of the team, as far as where the cables needed to be buried, what lights needed to be placed. And then soon as talent arrived to location, meaning the artists and the dancers, I just had to pretty much explain everything and do a little bit of convincing about how everything was going to unfold essentially on that location. But after a little bit, we were right on track to actually test out the full sequence on this location for the very first time. And after that point, it was just a matter of fine-tuning, tweaking, and just adapting everything to the real distances of the location. Consistency in movement and reliability on gear was going to play a crucial factor on this shoot. And by the way, during this time, we were going live on Instagram. We want to try to do that more and bring you guys on set as things are happening. Between wardrobe and makeup prep for talent, we unloaded the rest of the gear and laid out power from the generators to the lights placed according to the lighting plot. With not a lot of time left, it was time for full rehearsals with the gimbal. With the last cables being buried and the last tweaks being made, we were getting close to our point past sundown, and we were getting ready for the main take. And with only one chance to get it, for the gimbal to respond and catch to all the right moments all throughout one full take. No room for error, everything from the past week's rehearsal all the way to this just had to work. With only a few minutes left, it was time to get ready to shoot. With the click of a button, the gimbal was on and ready to go, and by changing a few settings on the phone, I was gearing up for the one take, the whole reason why we were out there. A lot was riding in this one moment. The lights glowed the cars back to life, and the last rays were hitting the mountains, silhouetting them, giving the sky a gradient of warm and blues, which is exactly what we needed. So finally, it was time to shoot. And from just having references to ideas on paper to then seeing it in real life is such a surreal and special feeling. It's hard to describe. And it's also hopefully an emotion that gets evoked in the viewer watching the video, and a big part of that is the lighting. So as far as gear, I actually used a new type of light that I've never used before, these nanolight color tubes, which were perfect to be placed on location. And what you're actually seeing here is another music video that I will be releasing soon, along with the full breakdown, lighting and everything, so definitely subscribe to not miss that. But these tubes were also perfect on this location that we're talking about now by placing them inside the cars. These lights not only gave life to the cars themselves, to the interior cabins, but also gave color to the atmosphere by hitting and interacting with the smoke from the hazers. So they work great for that and to create these spots of light in the scene, and also to kick some light to the talent, to kind of edge them, give them some kickers. And one other thing that I also did in order to keep exposure on faces and reduce a little bit of the noise and some of the shadows on our subjects especially, I used a lantern attachment to a battery powered 120D. And this light was running alongside me for the entire take. At the root of the choices of color, saturation, or type of light source is the emotion or information that it is trying to support. So to talk a little bit about the whys, I wanted to keep the style picturesque and strange while still giving it a hint of realism. So this can be seen, for example, with the red lights used in the truck, suggesting kind of the idea of brake lights. And I have a 300D with a red gel hidden back, shooting up at the side of the truck, and this kind of gave a little bit of a cool ambience in that back area, same as the exaggerated lights from what could be a dashboard inside these cars or a cabin light from inside. So this idea becomes more and more abstract as the story progresses. And right here, there's actually a 300D spotlight inside this car on the left with a blue gel. And this was placed there to give a backlight by hitting this haze, as well as a kicker earlier on when the dancers were more directly in its beam. As the story progresses, the lighting visually grows to represent more of the themes rather than going for what makes sense on a real thing, on a real car as a practical light. So for example, this can be seen here with this car in the end, which was lit from the bottom as close to the point of contact to the ground. And this is kind of to simulate this explosive crash. And simple things like this and simple ideas like this can hopefully come together with the tools to communicate the overall vision and themes that you have in mind. But there were a few mistakes I had to actually fix in post, such as the key light mentioned before kind of dipping into the side of frame. And for this, I had to kind of record my own smoke assets shot on the smartphone to match and use that to cover up the light. Another VFX moment was the warp effect, which was actually used to hide one of the dancers running towards their next mark. For this, I used the optics compensation effect and animated it to increase and decrease to match the sound of the song. There's also a little bit of blurring, some light leaks, and some slight chromatic aberration that pumps up the effect a little bit. And aside from all those things, the rest of the time in post was spent on tweaking the grade and adding some smoke or light assets here and there to kind of support any scene that needed that. Right, now before continuing on to the rest of the video, I'm gonna wear a hat for this sponsor segment because my hair is a little untamed right now due to the quarantine. Hopefully you're staying safe, hopefully you're staying inside. And one of the best ways to spend this time right now, if you're fortunate enough to not, be extremely affected by this, is to actually invest in yourself, learn or create. And a great way to learn is by using today's sponsor, SKILLSHare. SKILLSHare is an online learning community for creators with more than 25,000 classes in design, business, and more. Premium membership gives you unlimited access so you can join the classes and communities that are just right for you and what you're interested in. This includes a ton of stuff on editing, filmmaking in general, lighting, and so much more. And this all comes at a very, very affordable cost of just under $10 a month for their premium membership. A great place to start is actually these two classes that were recommended to me, which are actually super useful when putting together music videos or creative pitches for music videos and needing to storyboard and present and execute your visual ideas out. There's a lot to learn, and there's a lot of ways now that you can put your time to good use and just evolve as a creator. So check out SKILLSHare, use my link in the description to sign up for their premium membership. And if you use my link in the description, the first 1,000 people get the first 2 months for free. Join more than 7 million creators learning with SKILLSHare. All right, and that's pretty much it. This was pretty intense. It was a pretty intense shoot. If you've enjoyed this video, give it a like and share with a friend that you think could find this useful. And if this is your first time on this channel, we do music videos, but mainly short films, tutorials, breakdowns, all that stuff. So if you're interested in filmmaking, definitely consider subscribing. And thank you for watching this video. My name is Chris Trini from Kriscoart, and I will see you next time. I wanted to thank again the sponsor for today's SKILLSHare, as well as the amazing crew that helped me make this possible. And for that, thank you, of course, also to the rodeographer and ceremonic team, without which none of this could have started. Thank you to Aperture and Nanlite also for the lights, and thank you so much for watching and for supporting the channel.